Once Jay was done talking, I lifted my drink and finished it, then motioned to the bartender for another. "So, what do you think?" he asked. "I think you're out of your fucking mind." Jay's smile didn't fade, but the light behind it dimmed fast. He turned back to the bar and the television mounted above the pool table in the corner. "That's what Roach told me you'd say." She was right. "It's a good plan, Matt. I've been over all the angles. It's gonna work." "You serious about this?" "Hell yeah," he said. "An opportunity this good? It'd be a mistake to say no." "Then I guess I'm making a mistake." Jay stared at me. "So that's it? You turn your back on me just like that?" Before I could answer, the bartender came by with my drink. I paid him from a shrinking stack of bills in front of me, and he counted them on his way back to the register. I watched him ring up the sale, but when he slid the money into the cash drawer, I had to look away. Easy come. Jay was staring at the TV. His lips were moving, and I knew he was still arguing with me in his head. I'd been friends with him long enough to know he wasn't going to let this go until he felt he'd had his say. Maybe not even then. I decided to get it over with. "Why come to me?" Jay ignored the question and pointed to the TV. "You really don't see it?" "See what?" "He's soft, Matt. Just watch him." I looked up at the screen. The local news was on, no sound. The man they were interviewing was old and carried a polished black cane. His hair was short and silver, and the lines on his face cut deep. The reporter walking beside him looked young enough to be his granddaughter. She listened as he spoke, sometimes nodding, always smiling, and held his arm in hers as they crossed through a slow, shaded green garden somewhere in the city where things still grew. I didn't recognize the spot. "He's old," I said. "That doesn't mean soft." "He's trusting." "How do you know that?" "Because even with all that money, he still lives in a small house right outside of town. No security." Jay shook his head. "I bet he keeps his money in coffee cans." "I'm guessing he doesn't." "Either way, he's an easy target. He's not going to risk his wife by going to the cops, not over what we're asking." "What are we asking?" $500. $1,000? Jay nodded. "Split, down the middle." I laughed. "Laugh all you want, but that kind of money doesn't mean anything to him." "You really believe that?" "Of course I do." I shook my head. "What does Roach think?" "It was her idea." I looked down and stirred my drink with a thin red straw. Why doesn't that surprise me? "His wife comes into the salon every 2 weeks, always alone. Roach works the front counter and makes all the appointments. She can get us times, dates, all of it." I'd already heard the pitch, and I didn't want to sit through it again, but if I didn't stop him, he'd keep going until I'd had enough and walked out. That was just the way Jay was. He never could take no for an answer. "You know what it sounds like to me?" I asked. "What's that?" "It sounds like you want to go back to prison." "Over this?" Jay smiled, leaned in close. "No, this is easy money. The plan is rock solid. We can't lose." "Anyone can lose." "Not this time." I spun the ice around the bottom of my glass, then took a drink and motioned to the TV. "What did he do?" "No idea," Jay said. "A new wing down at the gardens, or maybe a school for homeless orphans." He shrugged. "It doesn't matter. The local news eats all that charity shit up." "I meant his money. How did he make it?" Jay looked at me, and at first I didn't think he understood the question. Then he said, "Is that important?" I thought about it. "I guess not." Jay took a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and tapped one out. "From what I heard, he inherited it." "From who?" "His father?" He put the cigarette to his lips. "His grandfather? Some dead relative made a fortune drilling oil in South America. I don't know the specifics." "Oil drilling?" Jay lit the cigarette with a black Zippo. "Could be bullshit, but it's what I've heard." I leaned against the bar and studied the old man on the screen. He didn't look rich. In fact, nothing about him screamed money. His clothes were plain, wrinkled from the day, and his sleeves were pushed up past his wrists, showing faded green tattoos underneath. "You sure this is the right guy?" "Doesn't look like much, does he?" "No," I said. "He doesn't." "That's because he doesn't give a shit about his money."